Congratulations, you guys. You are the one and only team that will be on the first flight to Rio.
Season 27, Episode 2. Show opens with a nice full recap and a beautiful full intro. Don't get used to it because that won't continue. And we start off with the green team greeting people on the beach. We had Alabama was there, the dancers were there, and the reporters are there. And I like when they do this on the race and they show a little bit of the teams kind of not during the race, but kind of getting to talk.
Like around the time. And that really was the first time y'all got to speak to anybody. Because I know y'all spoke to us for like 30 seconds after the bike race. But that moment was the first time y'all talked to people, wasn't it?
Walking to the cabs is when we first met you. And that's why we called Kelsey and Joey Ken and Barbie, because we didn't know anybody's names. It was the cheerleaders. It was TMZ for us. And it was Ken and Barbie because blonde hair, dark hair. I mean, I hope people are not. I hope Kelsey and Joey aren't offended by that. But
how can you get offended by Ken and Barbie? It's like pretty and pretty.
I know. So, but we're like Ken and Barbie here because that's how we knew them.
I mean, we called y'all the green team. Yeah, you wore a lot of green.
So, what were your thoughts? Was there a little cipher going on, and then you saw us coming, and it was like, "Shut up, green team coming"? Was the hate already there, or did it not?
At that point in time, no, it wasn't there at all.
I can pinpoint when it was, or at least I think I can pinpoint. So let's continue talking about the episode, and we'll see when it comes up.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
It is
like we just legitimately enjoyed talking to everyone because we had seen everyone for so long, and like to finally get to a little bit of talking time was nice.
Yeah,
we definitely liked that part. Got to talk. We got a little dancing going on, talking to the reporters. And that's when they show Team Texas leaving at 9:40 a.m., where they have to head to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and find the church where the Pope was baptized.
Pope Francis.
Pope Francis. And for all the people that were... All right, we'll get to that. All right. Track stars leave 4 minutes later. Shack Attack 2 minutes after that. Team Alabama 10 minutes after Shack Attack. And that's when Alabama talks about not being together in this type of environment or this close to each other for over 10 years. So what was it like?
Well, the thing is, and I think it's hard for, I would say anybody that's not a dating couple on the show, you're never going to spend this much time. Like friends aren't going to spend this much time together. Parent-child teams are, family members aren't, just because you are with your partner 24/7 straight. Like you never leave their side. So, I hadn't lived with her since I was in high school, and then I came out during college, and that's when we had that like disconnect where we didn't even talk like on the phone for a good half a year. Right.
But people made it seem like you guys, because you came out, that you didn't talk to each other for 10 years or for so many.
Yeah, and that's definitely wrong. You definitely need to straighten
that bothered me that people just take a little piece of what they see and then think they know the entire story, and that's what
it's editing, people. Editing. I can't say the word.
Right.
It's Edmonton. Okay, like blame Edmonton.
But no, it was not like that.
No. Like you said, it was a half a year.
And two, I love what you said in the first episode, Denise. You said that your goal at the end was to become his hero again.
That was very sweet.
And I love that. And I think
we don't know yet. We're not there.
Oh, we're not there.
I know we're not there yet, but like in hindsight, I'm just going to jump ahead and say it. Like, I think you're all of our heroes after it. I mean, people like would say to me, "Oh, I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you did this." And then in my mind, I'm like, "My God, that's like, you were like everybody's mom." And like people to say to me that they couldn't believe I did. I'm like, somebody's mom did all this. Somebody's mom. So you're all our heroes, really.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for everyone watching, remember she's a little elder. Oh, no. I don't know if I should say that. She's over 50. We'll just say she's over 50, and she's keeping up. Remember that.
That's what I say. I'm like, God, don't give me credit. Give it to Denise. I mean, she can take my credit because, geez, Louise.
Get it, Mama D.
Mama D is in the house.
All right. All the teams are going to be catching the same flight. And that's when we cut to the cousins who are actually borrowing a phone, and they get the address to the church, which a lot of people say was, so easy to find. You just Google it.
It was so hard. I'm sorry. I felt like it was so hard for us.
It was.
We didn't even think to look up the name, like
his real name.
We just
that's how I ended up finding it. It's because we had looked for like hours. Mom and I had gotten there a lot earlier than a lot of people to the airport, and we looked for hours. And we finally got that laptop, and I just started going to town. And I was like, you know, maybe we can like reverse this, go to his like true like birth name, and figure it out that way. And that's how we did it. But who would think of that?
I know, but part of me was like upset that as a teacher, I almost like, not that I didn't give up on, like, well, maybe I did kind of give up on it quickly, but I was like, all right, I'm just Googling like the exact phrase. I didn't think to take apart the question. I didn't think to figure out the clue. I was trying to Google the exact phrase, and I'm like,
never worked.
This is really hard.
And this is when we see one of the first confrontational scenes. Team Alabama is poking away on their laptop. That's when the green team comes over and they share the address with us. I thought we were agreeing not to share it with anybody, so I high-fived on it, and we cut to Team Texas calling over Team Alabama in a little circle with the paparazzi.
I'm going to say, in your defense, you guys were doing the right thing to share it with Team Texas because they had the express pass. I just wouldn't have done it so publicly.
Here's what happened. So we had talked to, before we had even found it, we had already talked to Texas about, like, if we did it, we'll share it with you. Because we had, like, become friends with them and started becoming friends with the cheerleaders. Well, you know how Chris and Loden are. Like, if they see two teams talking, they're going to jump in. So they jumped over, and that's how they found out that we were talking. So they're like, oh, we'll share it with you, too. So that's how that little trifecta kind of came about. So I found it with you later, and I did kind of use words. I watched my words with you because I knew I was going to share it with Texas. So when you're like, we won't share it with anyone, I was like, yeah. And I high-fived you on it, and I did.
Could have said, share it. Who cares? That's all he would have said. Who cares? Go share it. And then we would never had a problem.
That's true. But in my defense, like, I also said this too. Like, I found the information. So I felt like I could give it to whoever I wanted to. So, like, I gave it to you, and then I could give it to all them. And you shouldn't get mad at me for giving it to them because I found it.
But I'm going to keep him in check. If he did say he wouldn't share it, he shouldn't have.
Did I ever say that?
Well, hold on. I don't think, well, they didn't show it. So, like, we always, like, when we want to argue about something, I'm like, well, we can't argue by what we saw because that's not all of it. So, Angel, in your defense and in our defense, I feel like we can't really argue about it because we don't know what we really did say or what we didn't say. My whole thing was, all you could have said was something like, well, I already promised Texas. And we would have been like, oh, that's understandable. So, I mean, it's not anything, but it's just like, you know, you were 100% justified to share the information. And
in hindsight, it eventually came back and got something really good for you, which we'll get to, of course.
Yeah. But then when you blow up his spot, like, that's just...
Well, I did ask you beforehand. I said, should I go over there and say something?
Me?
I did ask. Yes, you.
But here's the thing. You remember that airport? That airport was like 4 foot by 4 foot wide. So, like, no matter where we were doing it, unless it was like the bathroom, it was going to be out in public.
And let me tell you one thing. Justin, I think that's where the pinpoint is. Are we going to agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
No, that's my pinpoint because I'm like, that's 100% like true to Justin to call people out right on the spot. And yeah, I mean, to me, that's when I feel like he started rubbing people the wrong way because I wouldn't have done it so publicly. I would have gone up to you. So if you did ask me, I definitely wouldn't have told you to go. Because I'm like a private person. I'm not confrontational.
I'm 100% sure. I 100% sure I asked you because I said, wait, didn't we just agree not to share it? And then you were like, yes.
No.
And then I was like, should I say something? You were like,
no, because the camera guy told me, like, I have to go be with you. So if I told you to go do it, like walking by your side, but I didn't. He was like, you have to go be with him. And I'm like, so I'm standing here like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
I never even made eye contact with you. Like, I ignored that completely.
I tried to not make eye contact with him, okay? I was like, what is he doing? I mean, he was just so loud about, like, who we are, you know, oh, we're so prepared. I wanted to just hit him and be like, Justin, don't tell anybody that. Don't let on that we're, like, you know, practiced and all this stuff. And he's like,
I didn't want to be one of those people that would teams that fly under the radar. I can't do that. My personality doesn't allow me to fly under the radar.
You can fly under the radar. You don't have to be like, loud about it. That's what I'm saying.
I felt that
one of your strengths, though. Like I do think it's one of your strengths that like that's who you are. Like you are that bold person that's gonna hit it. Like it's not everyone's like cup of tea, but that works for you.
I appreciate that, but in my defense,
it doesn't work for us.
Right. What I was trying to do is say, hey, listen, I know the game, and everybody knows that I know the game. So if you're going to partner with somebody, if you're going to want to team up with somebody, you're going to want to team up with somebody who knows the game.
Yeah.
So I figured that would be a way for people to be like, hey, we want to team up with him. Not, hey, let's 10 other teams get together and get them out.
See, but
I disagree. You were way too strong on that. Way too hard.
That's how I feel. Like you need to keep your mouth shut because we don't need. If people want to align with us, they'll see that we're skilled. You don't have to tell everybody that we're skilled and practiced. It's not like, hey, who wants to team up with us? We know what we're doing.
Who wants to be my friend?
That's what it felt
You
like.
needed a friend.
I know, but you didn't make it any easier. That's what I'm just going to go with.
All right. So that's when we cut to Team Texas, and Team Texas saying that Justin rubs us the wrong way.
Don't worry, he rubs me the wrong way.
They say that they know the green team is good, and we want them gone. And that's when it starts. Team Texas, right there, second episode, starts to get everybody against them.
They did that?
That's when the dancers do their little
welcome to the airport. I love that.
What we're arguing, we're like, they're like, hello, welcome to the airport. How are you?
I love that they showed those extra behind the scenes. I wish they would have had something with charades.
Oh, the charades.
Just a second.
They're a little too R-rated.
No, yeah, but you could have it was just fun.
But I want to see one of the bonus footages we have on the Justin and Diana page. There is an awesome scene where we had a talent show at that airport, that same airport, and you get to see the dancers and the cheerleaders dancing and having some fun. It was definitely one of the most fun times we had.
And, we did Rick get his card games and stuff like that there.
We played like Uno there.
Yeah.
And that's when we got into the craziest cabs of all of our trips. It's basically Mario Andretti and the Indy 500. All of the cabs were nuts when we got.
Was scary. That was not as scary as like some later legs, but like because there was no other people on the roads but us. So these people were going like
the highway. It was a highway. It was highway.
Yeah. The camera crew was like, "You better tell them to slow down. We're going." Oh yeah, there was a lot of unsafe driving going on, but eventually we got the paparazzi and the green team arrive at the church first. Diana spots the board.
Justin's arguing. I'm like,
I'm over here arguing with the cab driver over the price. Diana spots the board. We ditch the cab driver, run and get number one. Paparazzi grab number two, followed by Team Texas.
Can I say a little bit of karma back at me now? Is the three teams I shared it with were the three teams that got there first.
We'll see. Thank you very much, James Earl.
But our cab driver didn't drive that fast.
No, ours putt-putted. It was still a little fast, but ours like, we'll get there. It's fine. So that's why we showed up ninth.
And
you guys got ninth.
Wow.
Yes.
And this is where I was a little disappointed they didn't show one of our favorite moments on this whole trip. We got there late at night at this church, and it wasn't in a very good neighborhood, and we were all kind of trying to figure out what to do, if we're going to sleep in the streets together, if we're trying to find a hotel. And that's when the beautiful people of the church welcomed us inside and shared one huge pot of chicken rice soup, and we got to bond and hang out. And one of my favorite moments that I wish they would have showed.
And it was just one giant room where we all had little like cots. We were just like not even cots. It was like essentially like
it was foam, a blanket, and a pillow, and
all of us, all 10 teams were in the same room.
Yeah,
we walked in, and normally he's crying, but actually, normally I'm the one that's crying, and I walk in, and instantly, like I see the pot of soup, I see like the sleeping arrangements, and all of a sudden I'm emotional because. To come from where we live and how fortunate we are, and then to feel like you're being given charity in another country was just, that's a moment that you race for to feel.
And here's the thing too, and I don't want this to get twisted because I'm not saying we're like this, but there's times where people are homeless out there, and in that moment in the race, we aren't really eating. All we eat is like a little bit of food on the airplane. I have nowhere to sleep, and it was so nice to have that welcoming, and it makes me remember that.
Well,
real life now.
that's how I felt. I felt like, yes, like you said, don't get it. Like, I don't want it to be twisted that we were homeless, but it felt like we were being given food and shelter, so we wouldn't have to sleep out.
So much. Just those two things meant so much.
I know. And to think that people don't have that on a daily basis is, like that for us felt like the world was being given to us, and we didn't have to sleep on the streets the one night. And then to just think that people sleep like that all the time and don't know where a meal comes from is just, like just little things like that they didn't show is what's life-changing about the race. So.
And what's so good about that, at that moment, season 27, we became a family there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Really, really cool.
But it was nice to have soup. Josh said a prayer. It did feel like we went from being racers to like, okay, this is a family now. Like we are sharing something that only we will ever share, and it definitely shifted the dynamic.
For sure.
But to fast forward a little bit, when we woke up that next morning, there was 2 teams that were giggling. They were waking everyone up giggling.
They were a little giggly. Little Team Texas.
Well, we slept next to the cousins, Adam and Alex, and I don't know which one it was, but one of them was snoring.
Yeah, it was snoring. It was one of them.
Yes, it was right next to me. And then Tiffany and Krista and Josh and Tanner are giggling. Like, we didn't have to be up until like 7 in the morning, and it's like 5:45, and they're giggling.
I gotta do my hair.
I gotta. I'm gonna be like, come on.
No, I love them. Those are some of our best friends on the race, but they're little Mr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Mr. Giggles. So
James Earl in the middle of the night. I'm cold. Can I have your blanket, please?
No, and I was like, I need my blanket.
I was sleeping next to the heater, and I was cold.
Yeah.
Like
in our defense, the people that wore hats next morning, it was so cold there. It was so cold.
Oh god, the hat gate. Let's get to
the hat gate.
Okay, so we slept in the church, and we start this morning off opening up this beautiful church. And there's about 5 or 6 people in a little choir singing a beautiful song, greeting you at like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, and we walk in the door, and honestly, feels like angels are welcoming us into this place. And
beautiful.
Just the acoustics in that room, like the echoing of all. It was like 4 people singing, but it was echoing everywhere.
It was beautiful. So emotional again, because it was just like, it was emotional in a like, this is truly one of the most beautiful places that I can appreciate. And
so that's when we walk through. You basically, you just have to walk. Everybody takes the same pace. You get a 5-minute head start. Every team gets 5 minutes. And then we get our detour from the priest who hands us the clue. We have to choose between Cartoneros or Flatero. Basically collect 100 kilos of cardboard from the recycling bins and bring it to a truck to get weighed. Or Flatero, which is basically taking apart a statue, guiding a truck through the streets, and reassembling that statue. What were your thoughts about taking Cartoneros over Flatero?
So with Flateros, when you read it, I didn't want to have to direct ourselves. Like, I feel like that's one of the riskiest things to do is like self-direction in a foreign city with like where they don't speak English. So the thought that you had to like tell the driver exactly where to go, I thought was risky, and I'd rather just like muscle through something than to do that. So that's why we chose Cartoneros.
Dustin's actually pretty good in Spanish, and that we didn't even consider it.
Yeah.
Our first thought was like, we were just given something from Buenos Aires by sleeping in the church and having the meal. Let's give back and let's do the recycling thing. I mean, like in ours, like we almost turned it into like a charity type thing. Like, let's run back clean up the city after we were just given something. So,
and a lot of times when we wanted to choose the physical task that we knew had a definite ending. So that was kind of one of our strategies going.
I will say, I don't think many teams that chose that knew what 100 kilograms was, because I distinctly remember 1 or 2 teams being like, yeah, kilograms weigh more than pounds. And I went, no, other way.
Yeah, 2.2 pounds is 1, right?
Yeah. So pounds weigh more than kilograms. It's like 220 pounds.
I had no idea I knew that.
Yeah, I did think
medicine.
I did think one of those huge bags, like the ones when you guys had that huge bag, would have been enough in my head. So I definitely underestimated 100 kilograms.
Oh, we did too. We did too.
The issue was too is when you were getting the cardboard, there was dry cardboard and there was wet cardboard, and the wet cardboard was so much more valuable. Like you could stuff as much dry cardboard as you wanted, but like one wet piece is like handfuls of that dry stuff.
Some of the comments were like, "Why didn't everybody just wet the cardboard?" Okay, because you think that production's going to let you just, hey, can you hand me your water bottle? I got to wet my cardboard.
Yeah, and then other people complaining that there was cardboard put into the boxes. Yeah, there was cardboard put into the boxes.
There's also like 20 square blocks of possible places.
But how are you going to have a task that doesn't have an end? They have to put that stuff in so everybody can finish the task. And it's not like they were in every one, because they definitely weren't. We went to those that.
Yeah, and search for those special ones. They just showed them on TV. But like, I think Mom and I, we had like 7 or 8 before we found that one that was like full to the brim. And the first 8 we went to didn't have anything.
Well, because the teams ahead of us had already hit those. So we finally said, we got to go out, you know.
Yeah.
And when we did go out, we hit that big one with all the cardboard in there.
Yeah, you guys hit the jackpot. That was one of my favorite parts too.
We didn't find any in the first 2 or 3, and then we found a couple big ones. And we put our bags on the cart. I saw a lot of people were running with their bags
on the back.
On their back. And I think Tanner and Josh left their bags at the cart pickup. Which
they did. They left them.
They left them. That's risky, because if those bags weren't there, you're wearing what you got for the rest of the race.
Unless it was like a designated bag drop, I would never leave my bag.
All right, so everybody chooses Cartoneros except Kelsey and Joey, the only team to go for Flatero. The paparazzi are second. They grab their clue and start arguing, as this is a definite preview of things to come.
Well, this is where I wanted to say, where does the breakdown begin with them? And the first episode, you know, it looks like they got along great. They actually go into the church holding hands, which I thought was really nice. And then inside the church, you know, Logan wanted to do one, Chris wanted to do the other. Then they get outside and Chris is rereading them. And then Chris now wants to do what Logan had said before, but Logan had already agreed to do what Chris wanted to do. And then this is the thing, is like Chris wants to make sure that he's doing what Logan wants to do. And I think Logan wants Chris to just like make a decision and stick to it. And that's where I think it's like, Logan's like, what do you want to do? And Chris will say, I don't know, what do you want to do? And then they argue about it for 10 minutes of who's going to do what. And then they're no closer to a decision.
I think a lot of the time, though, Chris is just trying to backtrack and go with whatever Logan wants to do. So if it goes wrong, he can be like, listen, I didn't want to do this one. You remember, I wanted to do the other one, but I'd reach this because you wanted to do it.
That's definitely the fun beginning.
This is where
they did that. About spoiled the season. But
no, but their first disagreement is inside the church, and then they're full blown Chris and Logan paparazzi outside of the church. I love them. I love Chris and Logan.
Definitely.
Yes.
Texas arrives at the carts first, followed closely by the green team. And we cut to the paparazzi and Shax as well, grab a cart, and they head out. So we got 4 teams, but there's only 8 carts available. So the first 4 teams are out. And that's when you cut to Kelsey and Joey arriving at the antique shop. They grab their stuff. They load up their mannequin to the truck, and they get local. They go to a local and use his phone to get directions. They use
Can we use your Google? Can we use your Google?
Can we use your Google? And that's we cut back to Team Texas and the green team hustling to collect cardboard, both running off to the truck. And
you actually let them go ahead of you.
Team Texas was fighting to get ahead, and I basically backed off and let them go. Didn't feel like that was the right time to challenge them head to head, honestly. But nobody saw that. Hey, I let them go. Obviously, I'm the bad guy. I'm just going to point out all the good things because everybody points out the bad things.
They're chill. They're chill.
So we got dancers, Alabama, and the cheerleaders all grab carts and they head off. Krista tells everybody, be careful, and busts her ass slippery, 2 seconds later.
That's so hard.
Oh, I just felt so bad for her because, like, at this point, I already love Krista. Like, she is my, like, when I grow up, I want to be Krista. So when I turned around and see her, like, on the ground, I was like, oh, are you okay, dear?
And he wanted to sit there and pick her up off the ground and say, "Oh, you dust them off." I said, "Take her on, let's go, buddy."
That's a gentleman.
No, see, but that's the thing that I struggled with too. Is like, I want to be myself, but it's a race for $1 million. So like, you're trying to be friendly and help people out in situations because that's just, at least for me, that's just part of who I am. But then the other part of me is like, I feel like if I don't say anything, I'm being rude, and that's not who I am. But I can't say anything because it's a race, and you know.
Yeah. It's tough.
It's a tough balance.
Tough balance across. So she busts her butt, which will be foreshadowing of things to come. Texas weighs their bag. They got 27 kilograms. And we cut to the reporters giving details and talking about how details are so important for their job and everything is detail-oriented, and this is something that they should be good at.
I have just one thing to say. I thought that they should have hustled a little more.
Who?
Kelsey and Joey.
They were walking, right?
They were walking. Like, any time I had to do something, it was like not let's just run and do it, but okay, we're moving pieces in and out, like a little jog to it, you know, asking for directions, let me like run to store. I don't know. For me, I always felt this sense of like urgency. Like, I need to get from point A to point B as fast as I can.
Oh no, I was the same way. Like, I always felt like we were fighting for our life, so like you better be like clawing to stay alive.
Yes. They always looked calm and collective to me.
That's what they do when they're on the news. You got to deliver that tough story without emotions.
And some of it's like, all right, you got 5 minutes to set this up and go.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
And this is where we cut to Team Texas again. They are collecting cardboard right in front of the weigh station. They see us coming, talk junk. What's up, green team? And then cut us off just to weigh their stuff. So we would have to wait.
But see, I think what they didn't show on TV. No, I have to because what they didn't show on TV is like it took time to weigh it. Because like when you got there, you had to put it on the hook, raise it up, get it up into the dumpster, and then like empty it. So it's not like it's a 30-second deal. Like you weighing in front of someone slows them down by like 3-4 minutes.
But they only had it was like 17 kilograms. So
nothing.
Like, when the bags are heavier, it takes a while because you have to crank it up. But 17 kilograms to slow us down, it's like you could have been spending that time filling your bag to beat
No, that's true. They were doing it despite you. Like, they were. I'm not. They were totally just doing it despite you.
100%.
100%, which is awesome. It's great competition, and it led to some great moments in the race. And this is where you see the cousins jump out of their cab and grab the last cart, leaving the track stars who are right behind them cartless.
I don't know how Mom and I got in front of everyone. We left the church 9th, and we ended up there 5th. I don't know what happened to them. And I'm really curious to know between the cheerleaders, not track stars, but the dancers and cousins, because they were in front of us, but we beat them there. So they must have just had trouble.
Yeah, well, it was starting to get morning rush hour was just starting in certain places, or right before morning rush hour. It was like 8 o'clock. Right? Yeah. So it was good that you guys got through. Track stars are sitting there. Instead of switching detours, they decide to wait for somebody to finish and grab their cart. And this is when it cuts to Justin taking a drink from one of the locals.
What was that, Justin?
It's like yerba tea or something.
It was yerba mate tea, which is a lot of the people would drink it from those type of cups with that silver straw with the green stuff inside.
It basically looks like leaves in water with a straw. Justin, oh God.
I figured it was like, I didn't think. I just figured experience culture. He's there. He's offering it. It's hot. It was a cold, wet morning.
No, he forgets. I'm like, look, I'm all about taking in the little moments and getting, experiencing the race. But we have a task at hand. Like, okay, if we were done and we were running, waiting for the cab and you do it. But in the middle of a task, he's like, oh, I'm just going to mingle with the locals.
I love the camera pans from like Diana to Justin, and Diana's like shoveling in cardboard, and Justin's like,
are you serious? Like,
so good. You're doing good, honey.
Yep, there's more in there, babe.
Hey, quick question for you though, Justin, because you're like a super fan. So if you go and you and Diana show up in track stars positions where you get to the detour, there's no carts. What do y'all do in that situation?
I think we would have waited too.
No, we wouldn't have just sat there and waited. we would have found
we would have been probably gathering cardboard.
Yeah, we would have went and gathered cardboard. We would have found cardboard and waited till we found a cart. We would have definitely gathered cardboard or found a box that had cardboard, so we knew where we would have to go. Just standing around is not bad.
I would have waited by the truck until somebody was finished, but been dragging cardboard.
Yeah, it was too far. It was definitely too far to switch.
But they didn't know about the truck because the truck was on the directions.
Yeah.
No, but not the directions. The detour. We had the detour clue.
The extra
so
clue
it told you about cart, and it said there were only 8 carts. So they just took a chance that they
kind of did the smart thing. I mean, like I said, the only other thing they could have done was collect cardboard or stand by a place where there was cardboard or, track some down so as soon as they got the cart, they knew where to go. But they waited. What are you going to do? And this is one of my favorite lines of this episode.
Oh, I love this one too. I made a note about this too.
Team Alabama is loading that huge cart. That's when you were just stock full, chucking it in.
And Krista and Tiffany come running up
with an empty bag.
And James, you're like, I think we're done. I don't think we can fit you more. And Denise, you're like, don't doubt me. Give me more. And James, I don't think it'll fit. And you're like, don't doubt me. And, you are like, I'll wedge this wherever I can.
Yeah.
No, he just wanted to quit because the girls came up. Well, no, we got enough, Mama.
It's kind of like what you just talked about, Diana, where you just want to help people. So you're like, we got enough. We can let them have the rest.
Yes. Trust me. You can't hide that you don't have a mean bone in your body. And that's 100% why you're like, all right, maybe we should leave some for them. And we'll go find, we'll weigh this. And, Denise is like, no, we're taking whatever we can get. I love it.
So this actual 5 minutes is probably the best 5 minutes of this episode in my mind, because it starts off with me taking that drink from the local. Then it cuts to you with that "Don't doubt me" line. Then you cut to the dancers. Ooh, there's doo-doo in there, or we're gonna catch something. And then you cut to Adam and Alex locking them in there.
It's like a good montage.
It's such a cool a part of the episode to watch. It shows a lot.
I think they set up a challenge that was really good for the race as a viewer, because if you're thinking about it on paper, you're like, these teams are running around collecting cardboard from dumpsters. Right. But the fact that we are running around a place that we don't really know, looking for random shit in all these random boxes, because what the viewer didn't see is there was 100 of these dumpsters in this range that we could do. So we're scrambling.
I found out I can't read a map. Well, no, I can read a road map, but that was... I'm like, wait a second. All right, this street's here. It's on my right. And I got to go. Okay, and Justin's like, give me the thing.
I was like, just give me.
I got to brush up on my map skills for All-Stars.
I like that.
Love the topic.
Go ahead. Claim it, girl. Claim it.
Justin's like, we're starting to train.
That's right. We're getting, I think the first time I was prepared. Whew, if I get a second shot, you're kidding me. All right, this is where they show the green team finally finishing the race just ahead of Team Texas. Green team wishes Team Texas good luck. Team Texas turns around and say, how did we get beat?
Because they tried to weigh 17 kilograms.
All right. So Team Texas on their way back to collect their bags because they left their bags. We jump into a cab and take a lead on them by a couple more minutes. But they stop and help the track stars and tell them where to find the cart, which I thought was very, very cool.
The other thing is this is where keeping our bags with us paid off. Because Texas had to go back and get their
the truck was really far away from where you got the little things from. Because there was 4 or 5 blocks to run.
Yeah, so we had a pretty decent lead on them going into the next part of the leg. So Texas wonders how they got beat. They helped out the track stars. Kelsey, I like this one. Kelsey gives Juan directions to the spot. See what I did there? Juan directions. Juan was their driver's name, so she was giving them directions. Paparazzi finish up the cardboard. Green team gets to the roadblock first. And this is where Diana makes the decision to take this roadblock.
How did people know it was dancing before they opened the clue?
Sideways, tango. You just think tango.
I didn't think sideways.
Because we look back and saw people dancing, so I was like, this is dancing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe because if you came after, but,
when we got there, there was nothing. The door was closed.
I didn't even know what I was going to have to do.
I figured it was tango.
I didn't. I thought I would have to like walk on a wall, walk sideways on a wall. But
it was a mixture of both. So basically, it was Who Wants to Get Sideways, and Diana chose that. It's basically an aerial tango. You have to learn a tango on the ground and then finish it in a harness on the wall sideways. Texas is right behind us. Tanner jumps in there and says he'll do it. He does his little Tanner dance. If you haven't seen it.
So cute.
So that's when they cut to Tanner saying the only dancing he does is 2 steps, and Josh says that he does the nene.
Can I tell you, I didn't even know what the nene was until I had to come home from the race and Google what the whip and nene was.
What grade do you teach? I bet you they whip like every day.
Oh yeah.
Now
I have students. Yeah. No, I have students like that will just sit like in their desks, and I'm not even going to embarrass myself and try to whip it.
Baby.
But no, I have a boy that just does it all the time, and I'm like, here he goes.
There you go. Paparazzi arrives third, and Logan chooses to do the roadblock. This is when we cut to Josh, who is laughing at how bad Tanner is doing.
I love how Tanner gets the girl teacher, and she goes, you are the woman I am meant. What? I know. The cutest thing is like, I didn't know either why they had to do all the girl parts, but Justin explained it that, it keeps the consistent variable. That if we all had to learn the female part, we all had to learn the same amount of steps and routine, and that's what kept it fair. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So it was just.
Justin, I gotta call you out.
You gotta call him.
Dance is my thing. Dance ain't her thing. Dance is my thing.
Why is
I think it's her thing.
No, why is that possible? Like before, obviously, hindsight, I couldn't have done it any faster than she did. Hindsight, but going into the race, like I was a professional dancer. She's dances at weddings.
Let me just tell you, I think she's the dancer.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
She did an amazing job. It wasn't me knocking her when you see me in the stands talking about, oh, I should have done it. It was, I used to be a dancer. So, this is,
Yeah, but your dancing would never have, it's not dancing that would have, like, benefited you for this.
Like I said, I wouldn't have done it any faster than you. I know that for sure.
Yeah. But,
you did a good
those times when, like, you need to keep your thoughts in your head, that would have been one of them.
Well, you have a camera guy asking you what I'm thinking, so I tell him what I'm thinking. What am I supposed to say? I'm not going to tell you. Forget about it.
She's doing a great job.
You did.
There you go. Diana's got it on.
I was very supportive. You better watch that back. I was definitely supportive. You could actually see me almost crying. I was so proud of her.
No, I didn't.
Hey, Justin, once we get going a little bit further, I'll come back to you because I'm going to call you out some more.
I love you, Mama D.
I got so many notes, okay? I told him he's going to regret wanting me to do this. That's all I'm saying.
As long as somebody enjoys watching. All right.
I'm going to enjoy just doing it.
This is something that I'm also upset they didn't show what happened. The cousins is when they cut to the cousins, and they're knocking over this motorcycle, and they didn't show anything that happened over after that. I wanted to see what happened after the cousins knocked down this motorcycle.
I think it was bad.
They told us what happened. Did you not hear this?
Yes, we heard the story. We heard the story, but
the guy was chasing them and stuff.
I don't know how much we're allowed to get into, so that's why I just didn't want to get into it.
Like, put it this way. CBS is going to take care of it, I guess.
Yes. Let's just say that they broke somebody's motorcycle who was chasing them down.
I would have loved to see that.
Like, what are you going to do? You're going to, like, fight with 2 little guys? I mean, what are you going to do, man? But anyway.
I'm like, talk to my security guy.
Yeah, talk to the big guy. He talks like this. All right. So this is another line starts forming at the way station. Team Alabama finishes next, followed by Shack Attack. And then we cut to Joey and Kelsey, who are finishing up on their Flotero.
Yeah,
right?
that took a long time.
So what y'all finished what? Fourth,
I think. Yeah, we finished 4th, and we lost a little bit of time going to the next place, but we finished that in 4th, I think.
Yeah, so 5 teams that finished before that Kelsey and Joey finished theirs. So
I want to know when they left the church, though. But it was definitely a long time.
They're all within 5 minutes of each other, so yeah. So Kelsey and Joey finished slow and steady. They win it. They get through. Cheerleaders weigh in. They finish next. Dancers right behind them, followed by the cousins and the track stars in last place. And we cut to Diana finally trying the tango for the first time, and she messes it up on the first step.
Because nobody told me. James Earl, maybe they told you. Okay, you know how you did that first tango in the beginning on the floor?
And I'm right there. I'm with you.
Yeah, okay. And then you go inside, and then they're like, okay, now you're going to go on a wall. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on the wall. And then I'm trying to do what I learned on the floor on the wall. And they're like, no, it's something different. I'm like, okay, so I don't know why I learned that. So then I learned the thing on the wall, and then I go to try it, and they want me to do the thing on the floor first. And I'm like, nobody ever put this together for me and said, hey, first you're going to do the thing you learned outside, and we're going to hook you up to the wall. Maybe I missed it, but.
No, they never really did. And I think they wanted you. I think they didn't want anyone to put it together right away.
They told Tanner. Like, you see, when Tanner first goes to the wall, the woman says, okay, you're going to do the thing that you learned outside first, and then you're going to do this. And I'm like, no. I was on the other side. They didn't tell me that on the other side.
You did a great job.
But whatever.
So she fails on her first attempt, but it cuts to Justin. Cuts to Justin saying he believes in her. And then we cut to Kelsey, who chooses to do the tango. Tanner tries to do the tango for the first time, and he fails. Cut to Justin talking junk about Tanner. That's what it looks like, doesn't it? It's not me talking.
Why would you be doing that now? Why?
It wasn't me talking about Tanner. It was me talking about Diana. Logan tries to do the tango for the first time, and she fails, leading up to Diana's second attempt, with Justin cheering her on. Huge smile, and then a play-by-play that seems to be annoying a lot of people.
The funny thing is like watching it back, everybody cheers for their partner after they get it, but it's just something about you.
Enoch goes, right? I'm over here going, yeah, go Diana, cheering you on, but I'm the obnoxious one.
It's just something about you that people just don't like.
Yeah, well.
I don't think we had grown. Like, you're just like a fine wine. You just take a little bit of time to enjoy. Like, after like the third glass, you're like, damn, this is good. And you have to get that third glass.
I got you. I can understand that. I can understand that. So Logan tries to tango. She fails. Justin cheers as Diana gets it on her second attempt. And we cut to Tanner getting all mad, saying, I can't stand him. Well, he was just a little I think he was a little frustrated because he was having a hard time. Oh, well.
It's also hard to remember, too, that you, like, when you're watching the race, like, anyone that watches the race and criticizes it, I want you to remember, like, when you played Monopoly last week with your family, and when they got Boardwalk, you're like, fuck you, you are, like, the worst person ever. But no, like, you know, like, people get mad about Monopoly, and then they watch the show, and they're like, why are these people so angry? This is not angry. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, don't even start with that. Oh, my God, he's crying because he didn't get his way. No, I'm crying because I think I just lost the chance of a lifetime, a chance at $1 million, a chance to change my family's destiny. Yeah, it's not because I didn't get my family.
Everything comes in on it. The frustration, the worry, I mean, everything.
Oh, the sleep deprivation, the food deprivation, the 24 hours with the person.
That adrenaline that rushes through your body that you don't know how to act when you're on adrenaline because you're never on adrenaline that high. I don't know.
I did it. I'm just like, I'm talking to the haters out there that just don't understand.
Yeah.
No, and they never will. And that's a part of like why past racers and, you know, groups of people that have raced before 100% can relate to you and know that it's not as easy as it looks. Okay, question for you, doctor. Yeah. What happens? Sorry, I hope you know.
Putting you on the spot.
When your body like gets filled with adrenaline, how do you get rid of it? Do you just like burn that off through your actions? Like,
yeah.
Wait,
what? What'd you say, Justin?
Is it like a time thing, like the adrenaline wears off in 5 minutes, or is it like it pushes you to do a certain amount of actions and then it's done?
It kind of just stays in your bloodstream. It's not to get too technical. It stays for a certain amount of time. So it's a half-life. So it kind of just decreases by half over a certain amount of time until it goes away. So that's how it works, by time.
Now, this is one of the things when people ask me all the time, like, how do you prepare for the race, or what's something that you weren't prepared for? Like, I wasn't prepared to deal with my body on the adrenaline constantly. Is there anything that somebody who's trying to get onto the race can do to kind of prepare for that adrenaline?
Honestly, there's not, just because you can't recreate that situation. Like, no matter how hard you try, like, what you're living in that moment, you can't recreate. So you're not going to be able to get your body in that type of situation. Like, you can starve yourself, you can run on like an empty stomach all you want, but like the stress of, oh shit, there's this other team right beside me that I'm trying desperately just to beat, so I stay in the game. Like, there's no way to recreate that.
Yeah, like there's parts of the race that I can almost just close my eyes and just like transform and be back there and feel how I felt.
Yeah. That's fun. That's one of the cool parts about the race. All right, so this is where I think is the most critical part of this leg of the race, and it was overlooked on the show, and not a lot of people picked up on it. But I think it's the most critical part of the race, and it's the reason why the team that went home. This is when Diana gets the clue, and it says, head to the quote-unquote Cathedral of Polo.
Now, Phil did say that that's what that stadium is known as.
Kind of like the Yankee Stadium is known as the house that Ruth built. So if you went to a cab driver and said, the house that Ruth built, well, he may not know. But,
right.
So for me, I think that this, why is it the turning point, or why is it the critical part? Because if you figured out, if you knew what the Cathedral of Polo was, which I did because I studied on the plane ride there, that polo is huge in Argentina. While everybody else was sleeping on the plane, I was studying a book about Argentina, and polo is huge there. So when I got into the cab, the first thing I said, Cathedral of Polo? And he's like, church? And then I'm like, and I took a thought, no, take me to the biggest place where they play polo. And he took me right there. Oh, okay. Boom, took me right there. Now what you're going to see.
That's how you have to remember it, too. A lot of the times, it's a lot of luck, but there's a lot of skill.
Right.
And I think like that's one of the things you just showed.
Yeah.
Well, and we're guilty of it, too. Like, in that case, we knew how to decipher the clue. But sometimes, like, we're just as guilty of showing a clue and saying, take me here.
Absolutely.
But in some cases, when it's in quotes, like Cathedral Polo, there's more to it than just...
But that's one of the silly things that super fans know. If something's in quotes, that's not what it's called. It's a nickname. It's in quotes for a reason. So, and you'll see later that teams have problems with it, and we'll get to that. But mark that spot right there. All right, green team leaves, and the cheerleaders arrive. Green team jumps in the cheerleaders' cab and tells them it's a dancing challenge. And Krista does a little dance, gets all excited, and asks Tiffany if she can.
Can I do it?
She was so cute about it. She's like, can I do it? I mean, she was so excited. It was dancing. It was just so innocent and adorable.
Yeah.
I definitely wrote that down.
They are adorable. And this is where we cut to Tanner failing again. Logan gets it on her second try. The dancers and the cousins arrive, and Jin and Alex choose to do the tango. They cut to Tanner failing again. And then they show Cindy Shack from Shack Attack trying for her first time, and she fails. Cutting back to Tanner on his fourth try, finally gets it done. Josh calls him Twinkle Toes, and they head on out.
It's adorable. And honestly, like, if there's any challenge that's really going to hold them up, it's like the artsy dancing, like, judgy challenges. Like, it's hard for male teams.
It was so hard. Like, I tell people, I couldn't sit up, like, when you wake up, how you, like, sit up. I couldn't do that for a week because my abs hurt so bad.
No, like, Diane, people don't realize, like, when you were on that wall, it was just abs. Like, nothing else was holding you up. Like, you think that harness is? No, the harness is like a belt on you, and that's it.
The butt support. I mean, I had to do the, like, pregnant roll out of bed because I couldn't sit up. I mean, you couldn't massage your abs better. It just, I'll never forget that. Never.
And that's the thing, too. Like, if I'm talking to, like, something you said earlier, Justin, if I'm talking to future racers, the one thing that I did on this challenge is, you know how they had the practice stations where you could practice the wall stuff? Mm-hmm. I did that once so I could learn it. But then I just kept doing the rotation to, like, try to perform. Like, my thought process was, the more I perform it, the more likely I am that they'll miss something and just give me a clue. So let's just keep trying.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we did, too. Like, when Tanner was attempting it, I was like miming him off stage, trying to go through, okay, do I know the motions? Do I know the steps before I get out there? Or should I, practice it now?
Way to do it.
It's about always racing, even when you think you're not.
And this is like, if you want a tip, here's a tip for any racer, and definitely very important for Team Alabama in a future episode. I won't say anything, but it's finishing the task. Don't stop yourself when there's a judge judging you. Let the judge tell you got it wrong. Don't stop yourself when you think you got it wrong, or don't tell somebody you got something wrong.
Yep.
Just finish it and let the judge stop you. Something that definitely come into play in the later legs.
Yes.
I love you.
Unfortunately.
We love you, Mama D.
I know y'all do. I love y'all.
All right, so Cindy gets it on her second try. Krista talks about being a dancer and how it's going to be hard for somebody who's not a dancer. We cut to Alex, who's struggling on the wall. Good editing right there.
We got to him twice.
Yeah, then they we'll get to that too. Poor Alex is struggling on the wall. We cut to Team Texas, who's jumping in a cab, but the driver doesn't know the place to go, so they let him go, which is going to be a habit or a theme for teams. They stop a cab, ask them where they know the Cathedral of Polo is. They say no, and they let the cab go.
Yep.
A lot of teams did.
Cabs were valuable there. Like, if you could get one to stop, that was an accomplishment. So you can't let them go.
Right. I mean, even once you're in it, okay, can we Google it? Yeah. And, I mean, Amazing Race should be, like, Google should be a sponsor because, I mean, that is a word that no matter what language you say Google, people know. We're like, well, Google, can we Google? And people will just give you their phone. So, God bless Google.
Yep. You know they're going to take that away at some point.
Good luck.
This is when we cut to James Earl and we see the second seal clap. But this had a little bicycle kick.
There's a bicycle kick?
This one was like a little bicycle.
I was stuck in the air, but I was trying to celebrate and I couldn't.
Yeah, because once you got off, you weren't on the floor yet, so you were still behind
It's awesome. It definitely makes me smile every time I see it. They leave. Alabama sees the track girls, and they let them know it's a dancing challenge. And Denise, with the quote of the episode, "My belly."
I made you.
Yeah, but again, Denise, in your defense, what other comment could you possibly say other than I made you? I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. And I made you. That is, you can't.
That's an awesome moment in the show.
Yes.
Awesome moment.
She was trying to say it in 11. People took it as creepy online. I don't get why they took it creepy.
Oh my God. See, that's the thing.
People see what they want to see.
Yeah, people see what they want to see.
It's also TMZ's fault. TMZ set us up for failure with that Bates Motel.
Basically.
But you know what? When you're there with your son, I mean, you're so proud of him. What else could you say? You know?
Right? There is no higher compliment than I'm proud of you for doing that, and then it's go me, I made you. I mean, I'm part of why you're so good.
This is Team Texas. Team Texas. Alabama jumps in a taxi, who actually knows where they're going. Team Texas gets a cab, and they start talking about turning everybody against the green team because the green team was talking smack. I wasn't. But they talked about turning everybody against us. This is where we cut to the track stars saying that somebody who has flabby abs will have a hard time doing this, and they cut to poor Alex again, struggling on the wall. And green cuts to the green team arriving at the mat. Win a trip to El Jadida in Morocco. Justin cries, saying that
I cried too.
That this is
I'll take ownership for one.
A dream come true, and just to win one leg on the race would be enough.
Can I say what happened?
No.
Okay.
There's some behind the scenes stuff I don't know if we can talk about.
Well, are you editing this?
Okay.
Okay, so
they show Krista getting the dance on her first try. They also show Kelsey for the first time, so it looks like she gets it on her first try. The Paps are on their way, heading to the polo field. Taxi lets them out at the wrong entrance, so they are running around. And that's when we see Team Alabama arriving at the correct entrance, heading to the mat, all happy, jolly, holding hands.
You guys are adorable, running in. You're like,
No, we got
to take up for ourselves here. Go ahead.
The whole way there, like, we had left so far behind everyone else that we're sitting in the tab, we're like, we're in a solid 5th place. We're in a good 5th place. We made it into 5th place. So we get there, and we're just running up to Phil. We see Phil, we're like, hi, polo people. Hi, Phil. Hi. Walking down the street, and we're just running. Little did we know the Texans are right behind us.
Did Phil say something?
I think Phil said something. I think he said, watch your back, but in the time, it didn't register. I have to say 2 things. First, Tanner was like doing this, or Josh was doing this the whole time to Tanner, so they were trying to be a little sneaky.
Right.
And also, rewatching the episode, Josh dropped his backpack real early. Did you see where he dropped it? It was like by the dates.
Yeah, like it wasn't inside of Phil.
No.
And it's a lot easier to run without your backpack than with.
But still, we would have never won that with them sprinting like
That's
that.
true.
Who cares?
No,
You don't get anything.
This is the final leg, and they were going to win $1 million on this leg.
Alabama arrives, and they're moseying along down, and that's when we cut to Team Texas, and you see him putting in full sprint mode. Dun, dun, dun.
And I just said, Mom and I are just waving at everybody, saying, hey, people, how's it going?
They
We're
should
just having a
show that in slow motion on the very end. Go,
Yeah, you're soaking in those race moments. Like, we're doing it. We're finishing. I'm in Argentina, and
I'm in 5th place.
I'm not worried about going home today.
right.
And Tanner, they make the effort. They turn on the sprint, and Tanner tears his hamstring. Team Texas gets 2nd place. Team Alabama gets 3rd place, and the paparazzi stroll up on 4th.
So when we first got to the mat, I didn't realize Tanner was hurt until, like, while they were running. But when we got there, like, he hit the ground immediately.
Yeah.
And I looked over, I was like, are you okay? And he went, no. I didn't know what was wrong, but he looked in pain, like in major pain at the pit stop.
And we didn't know, after we had checked in, we were, I guess, waiting for interviews. And, like, he's walking, and you hear him limping, and they're trying to get him ice, and they're trying to give him the strongest.
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, part of us is like, oh, that's really good for us.
The strongest teams I heard. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, of course they're nice guys, but on the race part of it, you're like, all right, the strongest team,
Right.
hurt,
all right, kick them while
it's
they're
good
down.
for us.
So Tanner regrets giving up his hamstring for 2nd place, and they cut to Alex failing again on the wall. Jin finally gets the tango. Jin gets the tango on his first try, while Enoch is getting hyped up in the stands.
Can we reenact? I know you did it once already. Can I see that reenactment one more time?
Yeah!
I laugh every time I see that. Like, it was just like pure excitement, and I love it.
Yes, I love it. They're characters. They're real, genuine people who are just.
It's funny, Phil. I'm sure you read the interview before we left about the season 2017. I think even before, like the cast was revealed. But Phil said this is a real cast of characters, and I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? What do you mean? We didn't even film it yet. He's calling us the cast of characters, but what better way to describe us than a cast of characters?
Yeah, definitely a good cast this season. Shack Attack finishes in 5th, and Phil says, hey, look, these guys are newlyweds. And the greeters has one of the best quotes. It will be a short time of happiness.
Like, what do you say to that? Like, for real?
Like, what?
No.
Are you kidding me?
He's probably unhappy.
Like, I'm hoping something not lost in translation somewhere. Like, somewhere in between.
And this is where we see the cousins and the track stars going head-to-head in tango, knowing that they're the 2 last teams. Alex actually gets it on his 3rd try, and they see the dancers struggling to get a taxi. that knows actually where the pit stop is, and this is another part of the race where the dancers stop a taxi, ask them if they know where the cathedral is. They say no, and they let the taxi go, and then they have a really hard time getting another one. Jasmine finishes her tango, and Danielle rushes her out barefoot.
I'll buy you. It's $1 million. I'll buy you new feet.
Yeah.
I love that.
The track stars and the cousins and the dancers are actually all outside at the same time looking for taxis because even though the cousins got a cab, they didn't know where it was, the Cathedral Polo, so they let the cab go. Track stars get a cab. So all three of these teams who are struggling for cabs, all three of them let at least one cab go.
But then you see them, like you do see like 8 other cabs driving by everybody, not picking anybody up. And that's so frustrating.
I don't know about y'all's experience. We had that same deal too, where we would like flag down like 13 and then like finally we'd get one to stop.
Yeah,
like, we just had to go in it.
We had difficulty after Cardboard, getting one from Cardboard to
the Tango. Right?
Yeah, Cardboard to Tango. But we lucked out. We got Chris and Tiffany's cab.
When we got out,
they were just getting to Tango, so we jumped right in.
I think that was the same deal we had. We got the Trad Stars, but on the way from Cardboard, it was impossible.
Yeah,
that's when we struggled.
All right, so the track stars let a taxi go, and this is where you see the cheerleaders, Krista and Tiffany, checking in 6th place as Krista starts tangoing with the polo player. I guess he liked her a lot better than the Shacks because he
wanted to engage.
Yeah, you want to get a little tango action. Reporters finish in 7th, and the final 3 teams are all racing for a taxi.
That's not a position you want to be in ever in the race. Like if you can avoid racing via taxi,
at
all costs, because that puts all of your faith in somebody else.
Yes.
Yep. There's nothing you could do at that point unless you actually knew the address for the place that you're going. So
at that point, if you're struggling that hard, like I'm not afraid. You'll see. I will like yell out, "Does anyone have an iPhone?" Like until I can find someone like doodle something. Like you said, like I did that many a times in the race.
Oh yeah,
I did it in. Spoiler there.
That's when I put him in check again.
Okay, great. All right. So
I'm loving the system.
Check.
All 3 teams are in a taxi now. Dancers, track stars, and the cousins. They're all in the taxi on the way, and the dancers get out first, but they are at the wrong entrance. Track stars get out next. They happen to be at the right entrance, and they run in, finished in 8th. So now we have the dancers who are at the polo field at the wrong entrance trying to find the right one. Then you have the cousins who are driving around trying to get let out. So the dancers think they're in last place. They run up to the mat, start crying, talking about working 5 jobs, sleeping in cars, being homeless, and can't believe it. And then Phil sits there and lets them struggle for a while.
Tells them they're in 9th.
And then he finally tells them that they're in 9th place and gives them a little relief. And poor Adam and Alex strolling on up, and they find out that their race is over. And Alex has one of the quotes of the episode, 2 legs. That's all we got. Oh, yes, Alex.
That broke my heart.
Everybody has 2 legs. We all only have 2 legs.
No, that's not true. Some people are born with no legs. So,
Tammy Tech.
I'm just saying. I mean,
over there.
But gosh, it's sad. I mean, it's hard when somebody gets out. To me, it is. I mean, it's hard.
I mean, like,
I'm glad it's not me, but still.
Right. And I'm not saying that TMZ deserved to go home first. I mean, nobody deserves to go home at a certain time. But, you know, TMZ, I guess you could say maybe it was karma that they went home first the way that they did. But, I mean, to go home second, go home at all. It's not something that you plan for yourself. And, you know, everybody has high hopes for themselves. And it just.
Yeah, and that was actually the first team we made an alliance with was Adam and Alex at that airport. After we found information from you guys, we went over and talked to Adam and Alex, and they gave us the information as well because they had it. So that's when we created an alliance with them and said we'll help them out whenever we can.
And then we just got to the. It just like There was no time to. You know, we got to the church. We went in the church first. You know, we got the cardboard.
And then we never saw
There was just nothing that we could have done to help.
Right. That's the thing about the race is it helps to have friends, but you can't really help anybody. Like,
Right.
and like you can help people in the moment, and they'll help you back. But like, you can't like specifically go out of your way to help anybody. It's impossible.
Right.
Well, yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's been like 1 or 2 seasons where you can genuinely see where it helped.
So, like, when we told Krista that the roadblock was a dancing thing, we were already done with one. It was like a nice little thing to, hey, we're friendly. This is what it is. You know?
Anytime we had a chance to help somebody, we did.
And Krista did end up helping you later on in the race. Like, really.
You guys gave us that
helping.
information, and Krista gave us a little information later in the race, and those are the only 2 teams that ever helped us at all.
See, you'll have to edit this out because it's a little production-y.
Like, I knew that too. Yeah, well, we're going to edit out this part too, but in Africa, when we were getting the flights.
Let me tell you, you're going to have to edit this out too.
Just edit everything, Justin.
No,
edit.
They're thinking about getting to the finish line.
What were we talking about?
We will get to that when we recap that.
I know. Well, yeah, but this is now personal talk. So,
can we finish this first?
Yeah, go ahead. All right.
So, who do you want to put in check this episode, Diana?
I have to go with.
You didn't write it down this time?
No, because it didn't.
Because it wasn't me. Like you had the first one written down. If the first one wrote down,
It's Justin.
I would put Josh in check actually, because it was Josh who said like, let's weigh this. It'll slow them down, because that was just pure spite. That didn't help them. It may have even hurt them. So I'd put Josh in check. You're not being a good person.
Not being a good person.
Josh.
What do you guys think of the episode overall?
So I thought this episode was a lot better than the first one, just because the pacing. A lot of us were doing the same things, but very close together. So you never really knew who was going to be in what position. There was a lot of change up, which I love. Like, I don't like when, it's teams come in and they leave in the same order. Like, the changing up is really cool. And this is one of the episodes that really did that.
Yeah, you had a chance to do it. You had a chance. You had 2 separate chances to actually change the face.
We started the day at 9th in church, and we finished the day in 3rd.
Right.
Yeah, and we started the day first at the church and
stayed in first all day.
Yeah. So, but I meant like we started 9th. Yeah, I was like we started 9th and then we came with this.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That was kind of, and then when I thought about it, I was like, we started first and finished in first, dude. All right. So that's it. Season 27, episode 2. Any final words before we peace out?
Good.
Looking forward to next week.
Oh, no.
Next week. So here's the plan. I don't know if we said it in the beginning. The plan is we're going to recap 2 episodes every week leading up to the season 28 premiere.
Even though 28 can wait.
They can
28
wait.
can wait.
28 can wait.
Oh.
The only reason, all right, so the only reason why we're saying that is because Lost for 28 was perfect timing. 28 can wait because the cast was revealed
like during our
season, and we were a little.
Yeah.
And they all got their own social media fame. Let us enjoy our 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Nothing against season 28.
Give them a little bit of fame.
Yeah, just give us some of your Twitter followers.
Yeah, that's all.
Tell them to follow us.
It's like 2% of your Twitter followers. It's 2%.
YouTube subscribers. Subscribe below. Make sure you subscribe, like. I don't know which way it's going to be. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Hashtag the Green Team. Hashtag Team Alabama. It's going to be a fun year. And we are hoping to do season 28 live. So reach out to us. You want to give your Twitter handle? You want to give any place where they can reach you guys?
Oh, goodness. What's my Twitter? My Twitter handle is @JE Corley, I think. Pretty simple. Just my name.
I'll put it in the description as well. And Mama, you don't have a Twitter, right? You got Facebook?
I made her get one. She won't make one.
It's all right.
But you guys got a Facebook fan page.
We do have a Facebook fan page. Like our Facebook fan page.
And James are all.
Search Denise and James Earl. I'll put a link in the bottom as well. And this is Lady Classic 1. You can check her out. I am Justin Classic and the number one. I look forward to seeing you and hearing from you on social media. So, all right.
Bye,
so that's.
guys.